One of the four marks of the church is that it is apostolic. And the character of the church by which it is apostolic, we call its apostolicity. And it is this character that connects us with Christ, with the historical presence of Christ on earth, but also with the fact that we know that everything that is handed on to us in the church, its teaching, its moral code, its sacraments, its traditions, are truly from the hand of the Lord. Even the catechism, for example, tradition says that each one of the articles of the catechism came from one of the apostles. But the underlying truth there, the thing that's most fundamental, is that our Lord taught face to face His disciples and ultimately His apostles. And He taught them something that could be easily remembered. That's why the catechism consists of the 12 articles of the Creed, the 7 sacraments, the 10 commandments, 7 petitions of the Our Father. This is an oral tradition that goes all the way back to Christ, in which He handed on the essentials of what it was that we would have to remember in ways that were easy to remember. Our Lord was a publicly acknowledged rabbi, teacher who taught in this tradition of oral teaching that was easy to be remembered. Even our Lord's enemies, those who hated Him, acknowledged Him as a rabbi. And our Lord trained His apostles as, you might say, professional rabbis whose office would be transformed from that of the traditional Jewish teacher to that of apostle and bishop. And it is through the ordination of the apostles at the Last Supper and their mandate from Christ to teach, govern, and sanctify that we have the benefit of receiving from the church the faith unadulterated and the sacraments. That we have Jesus in the Eucharist present to us, and the holy sacrifice of the Mass today, ultimately because our Lord ordained apostles, and their ministry has been protected by divine providence. And so when St. Paul in the first letter of the Corinthians today talks about the various members of the church, and that they are different, they're not all the same, not everyone is an apostle or a prophet or a doctor or a worker of miracles or one that speaks in tongues or interprets them. There are all these various ministries and charisms within the church and graces that are given to individual persons, but in the end, our Lord has given us the protection of the apostolic character of the church, the role of the bishops and especially the Pope to discern these things and to guide us in the ways of truth, and ultimately to make it possible for each of us to receive the one thing that is important. Nobody has to be an apostle or a prophet or a teacher or a worker of miracles. We don't have to do any of those things in order to get to heaven. Those things are necessary for the church, for the good of the church, and God bestows these ministries and charisms on those who need them for the edification of the church. But the one thing that is necessary is the charity of Christ, the love of Christ, which is given to us through His grace, and which is protected for us in the providence that God has granted us through the church, in a particular way through through its character of apostolicity, that we have apostolic succession through the bishops and especially the Pope, all the way back to Peter and the 12 apostles. And that grace remains in place in spite of the fact that the bark of Peter, the ship of Peter, is tossed about on waves from a storm that has been blown up from the tribulations of the world, and it may be in a particularly difficult time in which we live. Nevertheless, the providence of God is with the Church. And so today we celebrate the feast of St. Bartholomew, a martyr for the Church, as were all the apostles. St. John, of course, didn't die a martyr, but he effectively lived a martyr's life and survived martyrdom. They all bear witness to the ultimate sacrifice that our Lord made for us on the cross, and that is our saving grace. We entrust ourselves to Him and to the apostolic nature of the Church, which we perceive and experience today as we receive our Lord in the Blessed Sacrament.